Hey everybody, it's Tim from Lanessa Farm Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again. As always, you can contact us at www.lanessafarms.com. You can send us an email at customerservice@lanessafarms.com or give us a call at the number listed below. Today we are doing something different. We have had two specific requests for me to show you how to make my classic white bread, and there is a reason for that because it is awesome. So we appreciate you watching our videos. We appreciate you contacting us. The emails are picking up and we love it. Don't forget to subscribe. Please give us those thumbs up. We appreciate it. Let's get started talking about the classic white bread. Now this is a bread that anyone can make. Anyone. If you have a KitchenAid mixer or you have any kind of a stand mixer, that is all you need. All the rest of the stuff you can get at any supermarket. You can make this in one afternoon. You can do this, and I'm going to show you how. Let's get started. Alright, so the material that you're going to need. You are going to need a stand mixer. You are going to need 2 loaf pans, just standard loaf pans that you get at Walmart. You're going to need a small plate that will fit inside the bowl of your mixer, which we will talk about in a little bit. You will need a measuring cup, that is 1 cup. You will need a liquid measuring cup. You will need a tablespoon, a teaspoon, your bread hook, the mixing paddle, some saran wrap, and a tea towel, and that about wraps it up. Okay, for the dry goods team, we are going to need bread flour. Not regular flour, not all-purpose flour, bread flour. You're also going to need whole wheat flour, some instant oats, the old-fashioned oats, wheat bran, active dry yeast. You can get that in the jar or in the packets. You are going to need some regular old salt. Not kosher salt, no, not sea salt, just the regular old iodized salt, some brown sugar, and this specialty spice here that you see is called Herbes de Provence. Alright, the wet goods, here we go. So I've got Crisco vegetable shortening, some honey, and water. That is it. Oh, don't have a picture here, but I also want you to get some olive oil. Very important. I would recommend olive oil in the spray can, but regular old olive oil will work. Alright, so get your mixing paddle, put it on your stand mixer, get the bowl in place, and get ready to go because we're going to start adding the dry ingredients. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to put our dry ingredients in the bowl, and you have to put them in this order. If you don't do this right, it can seriously mess things up, so listen close. The first thing we're going to put in our bowl is 4 cups of bread flour. The second thing we're going to put in our bowl is 1 cup of wheat flour, followed by 1 cup of oats. Look at how I scooped out this flour. You notice it is not like leveled, it is not sifted. We are not building a runway for the space shuttle here. We are making bread. So dip it in, scoop it out. If it's a little over, that's okay because that's the way I like to do it. Okay, next I want you to add 3 heaping scoops of the wheat bran, followed by 2 tablespoons of the Herbes de Provence, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and 2 packed tablespoons of brown sugar. Alright, so turn the mixer on speed number 2. Make sure you lock it down. Turn on speed number 2 and let it go. While this is mixing, I want you to add 4 teaspoons of the yeast. Let it mix in. That's the whole reason why we got this dry stuff mixing before we add the yeast. We want to make sure that the yeast gets mixed in and blended evenly before we start adding our wet goods. Alright, we're going to let that mix, let it do its thing for like 1.5 to 2 minutes, make sure it's well blended, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of honey. Just drizzle it in while it's mixing, and then 3 heaping tablespoons of shortening. Holy smokes, look at all that shortening. A little secret here, folks. Sometimes I use lard. I think it's better. I didn't want to scare anybody, so I went with the shortening, but secretly I probably use lard like 90% of the time. Leave it mixing, let it do its thing here. We're gonna let it mix for about another 3 to 4 minutes, and then you can shut it off. Alright, put your dough hook on and let it do its thing, let it spin, and let it build a well in here. You are on speed number 2. See how it's building the well? That's exactly what we want. You got water, we've microwaved it 1 minute and 10 seconds. It should be hot, but not super hot. I want you to slowly pour the entire 2.5 cups of water into the mix here, and at first it's going to look kind of like concrete and not mixing, as you can see, but here in a second you're going to see it's going to start to get soupy on you. It's okay, embrace the soupiness. It's going to look all slimy just like this that you're seeing above. Don't add any flour, let it go. It may stay like this for minutes, that's okay, let it go. Alright, it's going to continue to get better and continue to get better as time goes on. You might be at like 4 or 5 minutes now, and you might be telling yourself, man, this looks really good. But if you look, see how it's not completely clinging to the hook, and then all of a sudden, like boom, presto, wham, just like that, look at that. All of a sudden now it's clinging to the hook, and it is cleaning the sides completely, starting to climb out. See the difference there? This is what you want. Once you get this, let it go for 3 minutes more. Just walk away. Alright, so after you've reached this bread nirvana stage, you let it go for 3 to 4 minutes. It's going to really be making some noise, flopping around all over the place. We're going to eventually stop it here. Like I said, 3 to 4 minutes. Take the dough hook off. Now we got to pull this dough ball out, and we got to start working it. Now look at how I'm using my hands. I'm kind of like pinching it and tucking it around the back and pushing it in. So if you look at the dough ball, you're going to see it's going to get like smoother and smoother and more like a sphere. And you can see how I'm just like pulling and tucking and pulling and tucking and working it around. We want to get that nice and clean and in a nice sphere shape. Keep working it, pat it down, pulling and tucking. You notice there's no seams, it's all one smooth ball here. Once you get it done, that's it, you're golden. You stop, set it to the side. So this here is like a secret weapon. Check this out. So I am dumping 1 cup of holy smokes hot water in the bottom of this, like microwave for like 2 minutes and put it in there. Then see how I take my little plate and I put it right on top of that water. So what that's going to do is that hot water is going to heat up this plate, and it's also going to release some steam in there. We're going to grab our dough ball and we're going to set it on top of this plate. Here in a second we're going to cover it with saran wrap, and it is literally going to proof in the bowl. Yes, this is my invention. Yes, this is my idea. I know, it is pretty slick. So we're going to cover this with saran wrap here in just a second. I can't believe I just showed you guys that trick with the plate. It's kind of funny because every time I show people how to make bread, I actually leave that out. But it is so important because it's going to help with the crust and everything later. So as you can see, I'm taking the saran wrap, I'm going to cover it up, get it on there super tight so that water can't get out of there, and then I want you to grab a tea towel and you are just going to cover it up, and you'll see how it's already building that like humidity in there. Awesome. Leave it for an hour. Alright, so we're gonna wait for our hour, and while we're waiting, you can just like hang out and watch TV, have some alcohol, you know, whatever makes you happy. Just kidding, we need to grease our pans, very important. So get some shortening or your lard, hint hint, and go ahead and grease those pans. Get all the corners, get all the way up, and go a little bit over the rim. And after we grease them, we are going to put a little bit of flour in there, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Alright, so you guys remember that whole like talk we had about not building a runway for the space shuttle and all that stuff? Well, that's true with pretty much everything, but when it comes to flouring your pans, you gotta make sure you do it, because I'm telling you right now, you're gonna make your bread and you're gonna bake it and it's gonna smell awesome, and the neighbors are gonna be over knocking on your door, and your wife's gonna be kissing you and telling you how awesome you are, and then you're gonna go take it out of the pan and it's gonna be burnt and stuck, and you're gonna be super disgusted and sad. So the whole reason we're flouring the pans, people are going to be like, you don't need to flour those pans. Well, I know that, but the reason I flour them is because when they're floured, I can see if I missed any spots with the shortenings or the lard, as I might have mentioned. So 1 tablespoon, that's all it takes. So check out this video. I have used 1 tablespoon of flour. I'm banging it around in there. I'm allowing it to coat all the sides, and I can see if I've missed any spots, and of course I didn't because I took my time. But that's it. You just, kind of shimmy that flour around in there, make sure you didn't miss anything, and you're going to be good. If you have to add a little bit extra, that's okay. But basically, it's just important that you make sure you cover each and every little spot. That bread is going to bake at 400 degrees. It's going to be super hot, and we want to make sure that it does not stick, because the littlest part of it that sticks to that pan is a disaster, and it can literally wreck your whole baking experience. So take your time, and when you're done, and then it looks good. Voila. Alright, so head on over to your oven, take an old crappy pan with some water and put it in the bottom, and set your temperature to 200 degrees. Take my word for it. Holy smokes, that was fast. So we're going to look at that again here in just a second. But when you look in the oven, check out the bottom. You'll notice that I have a baking stone in there, which is important. You can even use bricks, but the bottom line is you need some kind of like stone or something in there to help hold the heat. It's going to give you a more even heat, and I recommend you put it in there, you leave it in there all the time. I don't care if you're making like frozen pizza or whatever. You are going to thank me later. It makes such a difference with your baking. Also, check out the pan. Like I said, it's just like a crappy old pan, a little baking pan. You're going to fill it up like 3/4 of the way with water, and that's going to be what is going to disperse some more humidity in there while we're baking. So I'm going to show it to you again here in a second. Check it out. Alright, so basically this whole 200 degrees with the water thing in there is our proofer. We're getting that low temperature set up to allow our dough to rise a little bit in there. So we'll get to that here in just a second. I want you to go ahead and check the dough now. It's been about an hour, and you're going to see how it's risen. It's going to rise up and look like it does in this picture right here that you're looking at right now, almost touching to the plastic. Okay, so here is the time when most people have trouble, so pay attention. I'm going to make this as user-friendly for you as I can. So I take the plastic wrap off, and very gently I'm going to pull that dough up and out. It should detach. You got to kind of hold that plate a little bit. You just want to make sure that you don't get this thing down in the water. So there you go. I've pulled it out, and if you look down in here, you can see that plate, and then you can just kind of push it to the side, pull it out just like that. Again, just make sure you don't get this dough in that water. So I'm going to start working it kind of like we worked it before. Remember how we formed it into that ball? I'm going to grab it and squeeze it around, same as we did before, like pull and tuck, and get it into a ball. I'm going to continue to work this and get it smooth, get the seams on the bottom, and what I'm trying to do is get it into a shape that's even enough that I can split it in two. So you notice I'm kind of making it a little oblong, just like that, and see, I'm finding the middle, and I'm pinching with my hands, and I'm kind of twisting, and see how I'm like pinching in the middle, and now I get two balls that are about the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want them as close as possible. So now is when we're making our loaves, similar to what we were doing before, kind of like that pinching motion, like pinch and pull to the back. And we want to do this so we keep all of our seams on the bottom. Now notice it's not like a torpedo shape to where it like gets narrow at the ends. The whole loaf is about the same width. If I had to say one mistake that people make, it would be that they make it like a torpedo to where it kind of gets more narrow. See, again, I fold the ends and I fold the sides, and I'm doing that like pull and tuck method that we did with the ball, but I'm making it into kind of a loaf shape. It should be almost as long as the pan, but not quite. And this is one of those things, it just takes time, but I promise if you do it more and more, if you bake bread maybe once or twice a week, it'll get easier for you. I kind of make this look easy, but I've done this like 1,000 times too. So The main thing is keep all those seams on the bottom. Tuck and pull, tuck and pull. Seams go down, set it in the pan. Try not to scoot it around, just like set it straight down. See how it's like the size of the pan but not quite touching any of the sides yet, and that's perfect. Now we're going to do the same thing again. Now watch again. Tuck and pull, tuck and pull, squeezing it together with my hands there to get that loaf shape, and then I am tucking everything underneath. So again, all my seams are on the bottom. That way when the loaf is baked, you're not going to see any seams or crevices. It's all going to be one smooth piece. So I get my loaf shape, all the seams on the bottom, like 90% of the width and length of the pan, and then watch when I set it in. I just barely set it in so I don't scrape any of the shortening off of the sides of the pan. Again, we don't want it to stick, so nice and easy. Boom, I just set it in just like that, and it is perfect. Now we are ready to put some olive oil on there. You can use some regular olive oil and brush it on. I like to use my olive oil in the can and just spray it on. Okay, so as you can see, I shut the power off. It was at 200 degrees. I shut it off. I take the loaf pans and I put them in there, close the door, and let them sit undisturbed for a half an hour. Okay, so after a half an hour has gone by, you can see how they've risen in there. That is perfect. Now check this out. This is one of my other secrets. I don't preheat the oven. I'm going to leave the loaves exactly where they're at, and I'm going to set the temperature at 400, close the door, and let it come up to 400 degrees. After I set it at 400, we're going to set the timer for 20 minutes. I don't know if any of you had caught that, but the temperature was only down to like 119 degrees. So my timer's gone off. It's been 20 minutes. Now I'm going to take them out as quickly as I can, and I'm going to flip them end for end and side for side. So you see I take it out, turn it, put them right back in, and we're going to leave it. Oh, get out of there, Megan. We're going to take it and turn it, and we're going to put it back in and set the timer for another 20 minutes. So 20 more minutes at 400 degrees, and then we are done. Alright, so our second 20-minute round is up, and we are ready to rock and roll. The bread is done. Now we're going to see how well you grease those pans. If they stick, I don't want to hear you complain, because I told you. Now look how easy that is. I take it out, I turn it upside down, and it just comes right out. There's no banging, no yelling, no cussing, no throwing, no knives, anything like that. So you just flip it upside down, they're going to come out. I put them on the cooling rack, I set them on the counter, I make sure I keep it away from the dogs and the kids, and everybody is good to go. Yeah, so you're going to have to fight the urge. You're going to have your little friends that are going to want in on it. The kids are going to pop out of the woodwork. Do not cut into this stuff for like 3 hours until it's completely cool. Don't do it. Wait till it's cool. I'm telling you, it'll wreck it. Alright, so after you've waited your time and it's cooled off completely, go ahead and take your bread knife. Easy does it. Cut into it. Should be good. Keep it in a bread bag. It'll keep for like 2 weeks for you. Like I said, it's super easy. Just follow the directions. Take your time. The first one will be a little bit difficult, but it'll get easier after that. Before you know it, you'll be a pro. And if I can do it, you can do it. So I hope this worked out for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed the video. We love it when you guys watch and when you give us your feedback. So try it out and send us some messages. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. And thanks for watching our videos. We really appreciate it. And we will catch you next time.